The Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, the Andor series, Mandalorian Season 3, and now the Ahsoka series. Bruh, where are my Star Wars art books, fam? Yeah, you thought I was gonna say something else, didn't ya? You all know me. I love my Star Wars art books, okay? I love my visual dictionaries. These are things that I will not hesitate to spend every penny to get because there is just a plethora of information in them. There are so many details and concepts about these things that they wanted to use in the story, but they never happened. And I think the last one that we received was the Batu book. And the Batu book I love. I really do enjoy that. It's one of my favorites, but it's not a show, all right? So there isn't as much value in that one to compare to like the Mandalorian Season 2, and of course the movie books like The Rise of Skywalker. And that's the thing too, is like we have Andor, we have Andor, Book of Boba Fett, the Ahsoka series, Mandalorian Season 3, and Kenobi, where there's no art right now. And then there is also like no announcements or anything that indicates that we're gonna be getting art books for these. And I'm not sure if it's just because Lucasfilm did not make enough money to profit, or perhaps there's just so much concept in art that we're not gonna be getting any of this because it's just a hard thing to do, to get all these files, get all these assets, put them into one book, release it to the public so they can have it and feast on it. I feel like Star Wars art books are so important, not just for me and the fans and everyone else that wants to have these things, but also to like the behind the scenes. And behind the scenes of Star Wars is probably some of the most important things in the entire franchise, because there's so many details about how this couldn't have happened or why Star Wars almost didn't happen. And a lot of this happened because of someone like Ralph McQuarrie and his art. These were some of the first things, these were some of the only things that Star Wars had to use as reference materials for like toys and plots and other merchandise that helped make Star Wars what it is today. You think about the design of the X-Wings, the design of the Death Star, Star Destroyers, lightsabers, characters. These are all things that art books ultimately helped, the direction and shape the entire image of Star Wars. A lot of people criticize what's going on with Disney and the choices that they've made with Star Wars and Lucasfilm, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of things I really enjoy. And I feel like these books are probably some of the most important things to come out of Lucasfilm in this Disney era. Kenobi series has been, what, a year? Almost. Book of Boba Fett, also another year or so. Andor, I think, has been out for a year. And then now we have the Ahsoka series and the Mandalorian Season 3 that, it's going to be in the next couple of months where we're not going to get anything from this. And it's really disappointing for me as a fan to see these concept art. I want to see the illustrations and the concepts of Book of Boba Fett. What made it into the show, what didn't make it into the show, these characters, these variants. And I understand that too, because when you look about one book, right, this one important book that everyone is wondering where the rest of the art is, for me, that's The Rise of Skywalker. There is fantastic things inside this book, but there is still so much missing. And I don't know if we're ever going to get that because all the pictures of Exegol, right? All the visions of Palpatine coming back. There is a lot of art that is missing inside this book that made it to the final version of this movie. And so you gotta understand, perhaps a lot of that stuff is in the red. Maybe it's in the Lucasfilm archive and we're never going to get it. But the things that I feel like we can, for instance, when they talked about the Mandalorian Season 3, about all these iterations and floors and zones and parts of the planet of Coruscant that have yet to be released, because in the prequel trilogy, Doug Chiang and George Lucas, they've really figured out what Coruscant is going to look like from 1313 all the way to the subsurface and all the way to the bottom. These are parts of Star Wars that are so important, and I feel like not getting a lot of this stuff, especially when there's relevant episodes that are related to these parts, maybe these concepts that are part of the books and everything. I just feel like the fans are the ones missing out, man. And I hope that we get this again, because it's the same story, in my opinion, with the visual dictionaries. I think we were supposed to get a visual dictionary for the Mandalorian, and we've never gotten that. We haven't gotten any visual dictionary whatsoever for any of the series. And while they did release Star Wars 100 Objects, there's the timeline book that I have too that also acts like a reference book at times. But there's just a difference between assets that are literally defined as an atlas for something like a visual dictionary or an art book. And that quality cannot be competed with, and I just miss it. I want it back. So if anyone's out there, please, 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 give me the art books for these shows, man. I need it. I know that there's a new book coming out in the next few months, and that's going to be like a Kenobi and Andor mixed in one. I think it's like the Time of the Rebellion or something. That's pretty cool. I'm down with that. You know, if you want to do that, give me like a Mando verse and an Ahsoka version and a Book of Boba Fett. These art pieces that went into help creating these projects, those are things that I want to see, and I hope that we can get them soon, because I hate missing out on these things. But let me know what you think. Are you someone that collects these art books or the visual dictionaries? Let me know what your favorite book is for art in Star Wars. At the end of the day, please subscribe, fam. I'm here to talk Star Wars, and I'll see you around. Deuces.